Hello, everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk when it comes to ghost sightings, many people often smile, thinking that it is just a product of imagination or a random reflection of light. But there are moments that make the whole world silent, when the image appears too clear, too real to be a joke. That is when people realize that there are things beyond all explanation. Today, we begin our journey to explore 10 recorded ghost stories that are considered too real to be considered a hoax. The first story takes us to England, where a famous photo was taken on the main staircase of Rainham Hall in 1936. In that photo, a hazy white figure is walking down the stairs, wearing a classic long dress, head slightly bowed, no clear face. Experts at that time examined the photo many times, looking for signs of editing or light reflection, but no one could explain it. It is called the Brown Lady of Rainham Hall, the spirit of Lady Dorothy Walpole, who was imprisoned in this house until her death. Many people say they hear footsteps and smell perfume on the stairs every night. Next, we go to America, where the story of the Stanley Hotel in Colorado has led many to believe that not all of its guests are living people. This is the place that inspired the novel The Shining. Many guests have said that they heard the sound of a piano playing in the empty lobby, or saw the shadow of a woman in a white dress smiling in the mirror. One night watchman once swore that he saw a shadowy figure walking through the hallway and then disappearing when he approached. The story spread far and wide, making the Stanley Hotel a destination for lovers of mysterious horror stories. In Japan, Kisaragi Station is a mystery that haunts many people. A girl named Kana once called her friends while on a night train, saying that the train did not stop at the familiar station, but went to a strange station called Kisaragi. She then described the place as quiet, dimly lit, and deserted. Her last call ended with the sound of wind and strange sounds. Since then, no one has heard her voice again. Many years later, some people said they saw the silhouette of a young girl standing on the deserted platform, her eyes wide open as if looking for a way home. In Australia, the image recorded by a security camera in an old hospital made everyone who saw it shudder. A security guard checked the empty hallway when suddenly a blurry figure slid across the lens. The strange thing was that the motion sensor did not signal. The door opened even though no one was there. The video was authenticated and spread all over the internet, making many people believe that the souls of the deceased patients had not left this place. It is impossible not to mention the story at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Illinois. Hundreds of photos were taken here, but there is one that everyone cannot forget. In the photo, a woman in a white dress sits on a grave, looking down as if waiting for someone. The scary thing is that no one was there when the photo was taken. People who have been to this place say they heard footsteps and a woman's voice, whispering in their ears when passing through the ancient trees. From Europe to Asia, from ancient houses to luxurious hotels, these incidents have one thing in common. They are all recorded with physical evidence, photos, videos, sounds, or accounts from many witnesses. Although science has tried to explain, every time the light fades, the cold wind blows through the door, people wonder if something is still watching us. When night falls, people say that the worlds of the living and the dead collide for a moment. Those who are sensitive enough will feel that faint presence. Some say it's just an illusion, but others swear they've seen, heard, and felt things that can't be named. Ghost stories like these not only scare people, but also raise deep questions about existence. If those souls are really still around us, then is death the end, or just a door to another world? And when you sit alone in the quiet of the night, do you ever feel like someone is watching you, even though the room is empty? Maybe, just maybe, someone from the other side is standing right there, silently observing. These stories are not just stories, but warnings, because in the fragile boundary between light and darkness, there are secrets that should not be awakened. Remember, sometimes what scares us the most is not what we see, but what is looking at us from where we cannot look back. The second story in this list of ghost stories, too real to be true, begins on a deserted road in Illinois in the 1930s. Many people call it Archer Highway, and the main character of this legend is known as the Vanishing Hitchhiker. It is the story of a young girl in a white dress who is seen walking along the road in the dark, often on cold, rainy nights. A driver named Robert once said that while driving home from a party, he saw a girl standing on the side of the road, her shoulders shaking in the rain. He stopped, opened the door for her, and asked where she lived. She only whispered that she needed a ride to Resurrection Cemetery, a few miles away. He nodded and continued driving. They didn't say anything more. The air in the car was so cold that his breath turned to mist. As the car approached the cemetery gate, he turned to say something, but the girl had disappeared. The car door remained closed, no sound, no sign of opening. The story spread quickly, and within a few years, dozens of other drivers had similar stories. They all saw the girl in a white dress, often standing near the curve, near the cemetery gate. Some said she waved for a ride, others just saw her cross the road and disappear right before their eyes. Experts came to investigate. They checked the lighting conditions, the fog, even the reflections from the car lights, but could not explain why the figure could disappear in the blink of an eye. Locals believed that the girl was the spirit of a person named Mary, who died in an accident right on that stretch of road. Since then, this place has been named Resurrection Mary and has become one of the most recorded supernatural phenomena in the United States. It is said that every time someone sees Mary, it will rain or be covered in fog, as if her spirit is still looking for a way home. A group of paranormal researchers once spent many nights at Resurrection Cemetery recording and observing. They said that there were times when the camera recorded a sudden drop in temperature. The microphone picked up sounds like light footsteps on gravel, even though no one was around. One of the members also said that he saw a faint silhouette of the girl reflected in the van window, even though there were no lights outside. That feeling made the whole team not dare to leave the car until dawn. Since 1970, more than 50 different testimonies have been recorded about the girl's appearance. Each person told their own story, but they all had one thing in common: a feeling of cold and a faint scent of roses. A taxi driver once said that he drove a girl to the cemetery, and when he turned around to collect the fare, the back seat was empty, with only water stains left on the leather seat. He stopped the car, got out and looked around, but there was only darkness and thick fog. After that, the taxi never drove that route again. What's even more terrifying is that many people claim they dreamed of the girl the night before they actually met her. In the dream, she just stood there, looking, her eyes sad and her hands cold. Some people say they felt the cold even when they woke up. Although they never believed in ghosts, after experiencing that moment, no one can deny the creepy feeling. Psychologists have tried to explain this phenomenon as fatigue or reflected light, but they cannot explain why so many people see the same silhouette in the same place at the same time of night. That is what makes Resurrection Mary's story one of the most haunted ghost stories in American history. Today, people still pass on advice that if you drive past Resurrection Cemetery at night, don't stop if you see someone waving on the side of the road, because no one knows when she will disappear. Or worse, maybe she will not disappear, but sit right behind you, silently looking through the rearview mirror. Mary's story not only scares witnesses, but also makes researchers question the nature of the afterlife. Perhaps not all souls find their way to continue, and they still wander between the two worlds, looking for someone to listen to their story. Although science cannot prove it, witnesses still exist, and recorded videos and images still make people shiver when night falls. Imagine you are driving alone on a dark road, the wind whistling through the windows, headlights shining far ahead. Suddenly, a figure appears in the fog, standing silently watching you. What will you do? Continue or stop? Sometimes, just a small decision can make you become the next part of the story that Mary never finished. On a hilltop in Louisville, Kentucky, there is a massive abandoned building known to locals as Waverly Hills Hospital. It was once one of the largest tuberculosis treatment facilities in the United States in the early 20th century. Thousands of people were admitted here in hopes of being cured of the deadly disease, but only a few left alive. The rest, they lie forever within the cold walls of Waverly Hills. It is said that when you enter this place, the atmosphere changes immediately. A chill spreads from the brick floor, as if the building still holds the memory of the days when patients lay in bed. Some say they hear a soft cough from the end of the hallway, even though it is empty. Others claim to see the shadow of a doctor in a white coat walk through the operating room door, then disappear as they approach. Among the countless accounts, the most famous is the story of a child named Timmy. Many visitors have brought a small ball into the building and placed it in the hallway. As they stood there waiting in silence, the ball began to roll, slowly but surely, as if someone was playing with it. Some even recorded video of the ball moving on its own, even without wind. They believe it was Timmy, a boy who died here and still wanders between the old hospital rooms looking for friends to play with. Waverly Hills also has a place called the Body Chute, a tunnel more than 100 meters long leading out into the hillside. When patients died, their bodies were taken down this tunnel to avoid being seen by others. But it is now the most creepy spot. Many paranormal researchers say that when they stand in the tunnel, they hear dragging sounds, gasping breaths, even someone moaning. One person in the group once said that he felt his hand being grabbed even though no one was around. A professional investigation team once brought ultrasound equipment and thermal cameras into the hospital. When they went deep into room 502, where a nurse was said to have committed suicide by hanging herself in the room, the devices all had signal interference. On the camera screen, a figure stood against the wall, face unclear, but the figure of a woman wearing a nurse's uniform. As they approached, the figure disappeared, and an automatic door slammed shut, leaving everyone stunned. After that, the group decided to retreat because it felt like hundreds of eyes were watching them. Many people tried to explain that it was just an illusion or a sound effect from the old architecture, but what they experienced was not easy to explain scientifically. A night watchman said that when he checked the third floor, he saw a flickering light in a room that he knew for sure had no electricity. As he approached, the lights suddenly went out and a soft voice behind him made him run out of the building. He vowed never to return, no matter how much money he was offered. Today, Waverly Hills Hospital has become a popular destination for those interested in exploring haunted stories. Many visitors come here just to feel the cold air and try to hear the strange sounds that others have said. Some people say they see a shadowy figure standing and looking through the windows on the upper floors, while the building is completely locked. Some cameras even record blurry images moving quickly through the lens, giving those who review the videos GOOSEBUMPS some nights. People living nearby say they hear knocking on the door of the building or soft singing coming from inside. When they get closer, the sound disappears, leaving only the wind blowing through the broken windows. Although the city has tried to demolish this building many times, the strange events continue, making people believe that Waverly Hills does not want to be forgotten. Standing in front of the hospital gate, you can clearly feel the strange atmosphere. The sky is gloomy, the fog covers the hills, and in the silence there is a feeling that someone is watching. Some people believe that the souls of thousands of patients still linger here, unable to leave because they died in pain and loneliness. Waverly Hills is therefore not just an old building, but a living memory of the fates trapped between two worlds. If you have the chance to set foot there, try standing in the dark corridor, listening carefully. You may hear a faint cough or light footsteps behind you. When that happens, do not turn around, because maybe someone is walking with you. Someone the world has long forgotten but never disappeared. In the middle of the Long Beach Harbor in California, the Queen Mary is still anchored, standing tall as a witness to time. When it was first launched in 1936, the Queen Mary was a symbol of luxury and power. It once carried thousands of passengers, including celebrities and royalty. But after World War II, the ship was converted into a troop transport, and it was during that period that a series of mysterious deaths occurred. Since then, the Queen Mary has been known not only for its beauty, but also for the creepy phenomena that occurred inside. Many witnesses said that they heard footsteps echoing along the corridors at night, when the entire ship was silent. Some people said that they saw the shadow of a man in a sailor's uniform appear in the whole area, where an accident occurred that crushed an engineer by a giant steel door. Since then, anyone who has been near the area in the middle of the night has said they have felt his presence, and sometimes heard a metallic clang like a door closing in the ship's first pool, which was once reserved for luxury guests. Many have seen a young woman in a vintage bathing suit walking along the edge of the pool. The scary thing is that the pool area has long been abandoned. The water has been drained, but the cold dampness and smell of chlorine still lingers. Tour guides say that there are nights when they hear splashing and giggling, even though the pool is completely empty. A cameraman once captured a shadowy figure moving across the lens, and the video has become famous evidence in America's most real haunted stories. The changing room near the pool is a place many people do not dare to enter. Visitors said that when they opened the old wooden door, they clearly felt the cold air coming out, and in the mirror appeared the silhouette of someone standing behind. One visitor said that she heard a whisper in her ear, a voice as light as the wind but almost made her faint with fear. When she turned back, the room was empty. Only the lights flickered. Another famous phenomenon occurred in the ship's engine room. Electronic devices often had interference. The compass rotated continuously even though there was no strong magnetic field. A security guard once said that he heard someone calling his name amid the echoing metal sound, and when he looked around, he saw only thick steam. He ran away, but in the mirror of the control room, he clearly saw the image of a man in an old uniform staring at him. Many paranormal story researchers have come to Queen Mary to record and collect evidence. Some devices recorded strange sounds like footsteps or a weak voice saying, "Please help me." Upon re-examination, they confirmed that no one had said those words during the filming. One scientist admitted that he could not explain the phenomenon, saying that the feeling of standing on the ship at night was like being between two worlds, where time stood still. Visitors to the Queen Mary are warned about areas with strong energy. Room E202 is known as the Spirit Room, where many people claim to have been touched while sleeping or heard a regular knock on the door at 3 a.m. Some even say they saw small handprints on the bathroom mirror, even though they were alone. Many visitors, after leaving the ship, said they dreamed of rough seas, heard people screaming for help in their sleep, as if the souls of those who died at sea were still following them. The Queen Mary was once known as the spirit of the ocean. It carried the dreams, pain, and death of thousands of people. As you walk through the corridors, you can feel the heavy air, the smell of sea salt mixed with the smell of rusted iron. Some people believe that the souls of those who died in the war still stay, guarding the ship they call home. Every night, when the waves gently lap against the hull, people say they hear a soft singing voice coming from somewhere, like a sad lullaby of the ocean. Today, Queen Mary has become a popular tourist destination, but not everyone is brave enough to stay overnight. Some people abandon their tour because they can't stand the feeling of being watched. Some visitors say they heard a light knock on their room door, opened it and found no one there, only a long corridor and dim lights. These experiences make the ship not just a historical relic, but one of the most vivid haunted stories, where the worlds of the living and the dead intersect. If you stand on the deck of the Queen Mary one night, listening to the wind and looking out at the dark ocean, remember that you are never truly alone. There may be someone standing right next to you, silently watching, just waiting to tell their own story. In the Niagara Falls area of Canada, there is a small tunnel called the Screaming Tunnel. It is hidden among the old trees. The entrance is covered with moss and damp. During the day, this place looks normal, like an abandoned water pipe. But when night falls, the darkness covers it so that no one dares to come near. People around the area believe that the screams of a long-dead girl still echo in that tunnel. And just light a match at night, you will hear the screams echoing from deep inside. Legend has it that nearly a century ago, there was a small house near that tunnel. One night, the house suddenly caught fire, and a girl about 10 years old ran out of the fire. Her whole body burned. The girl panicked and ran into the tunnel to find shelter, but the fire burned her in the thick smoke. It is said that since that day, every time someone entered the tunnel and lit a match, the girl's scream would ring out, causing the fire to go out immediately. Many curious people came to try and confirm that they really heard that sound. A young couple once said that when they entered the tunnel together at midnight, as soon as they lit a match, the light went out, and in the darkness, they heard gasps and someone calling their name. They ran out in panic, but when they looked back, the tunnel was still quiet, as if nothing had happened. A group of students once tried to record in the tunnel, and when they played back, they heard a faint cry mixed with giggles. Even though there was no sound other than the wind when recording, a paranormal story researcher once came here hoping to find an answer. He brought a thermal camera, a sonar, and a motion sensor. As he entered the middle of the tunnel, the equipment recorded a sudden change in temperature, dropping from 20 degrees to 10 degrees in a few seconds. He said he felt a chill on his skin and a strong wind blowing, even though it was completely calm outside. When he lit a match to test the light, the flame flared up and then went out, and a piercing scream echoed, forcing him to run outside. All the equipment was working normally, but the sound was still clearly recorded. Many skeptics believe that the legend of the screaming tunnel is just a rumor fabricated to attract tourists. However, those who have been there all report the same feeling: an invisible but distinct presence, as if someone was standing right behind. A nearby resident said he often heard footsteps coming from the tunnel at night, and sometimes a soft, wind-whistling cry. He thought it was a joke, but when he went to check, the tunnel was empty, with no trace of a living person in winter. When the snow covers the tunnel, it becomes even more terrifying. The cold air rises from the ground, combined with the thick fog, making every sound echo for a long time. Some people say they saw a green light moving slowly in the tunnel, like a flickering flame. Others claim they saw the blurry figure of a little girl sitting in the middle of the tunnel, hugging her knees, her eyes shining in the darkness. The brave travelers who have walked through the screaming tunnel all agree that the feeling there is unlike any other. It is not just fear, but a deep sadness, as if the little girl's soul is still lost, searching for someone to help her return. Perhaps that is why, when people leave the tunnel, they still hear the sound of the wind whistling in their ears, like a message from the other world. A man once shared that after visiting the tunnel, he dreamed of a little girl standing in front of his bed, her face obscured by smoke, and a small voice asking him why he lit the fire. He woke up with a start. The room was silent, but the smell of smoke still lingered in the air. From then on, he never returned to that place. Locals say that Screaming Tunnel is a part of the history of this land, a reminder that there are pains that never go away. Every night, the wind blows through the mouth of the tunnel, creating a wailing sound like a cry, sending chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. Believe it or not, just step into that place once, and you will feel that there are stories that are never just legends. If one night you are walking through the Niagara region and hear someone calling your name from the darkness, remember that sometimes the echo is not just a sound, but a soul searching for the comfort it never had. Rose Hole, nestled in the green hills of Montego Bay, Jamaica, is a huge mansion built in the 18th century. When the sun sets, the moonlight shines on the old stone walls. The wind blows through the palm trees, creating a strange sound. Locals say that every night they see a woman in a black dress pass by the second-floor window, even though it has been locked for hundreds of years. They call her the Woman in Black, and her story is one of the horror stories that makes the world shudder. According to legend, that woman's name is Annie Palmer, the last owner of Rose Hall. She is known as a beautiful but cruel woman. After her husband died, Annie ruled the mansion with an iron fist, torturing and killing many slaves. It is said that she used black magic learned from Haiti to maintain her power, and every night she performed a ritual under the moonlight to call the souls of the dead to her service. But in the end, a slave rebelled and killed her in her own room. Since then, Rose Hole has been shrouded in a curse. Residents say that anyone who dares to enter Annie's bedroom at night hears a cold female voice whispering, sometimes a laugh echoing in the wind. Some even see her silhouette standing by the railing, her eyes glowing in the dark. A former gatekeeper once said that when he was patrolling the mansion, he saw a candle light up by itself even without wind, then suddenly go out. When he returned, a handprint in black ash appeared on the wall. Many film crews and paranormal researchers have come to Rose Hall to investigate. They used energy meters and thermal cameras. During a night shoot, the camera captured a blurry image of a woman standing at a second-floor window, her long hair hanging down and her face almost transparent. When the crew checked the scene again, the window was still locked from the inside. One of the group said he felt a light tap on his shoulder, but when he turned around, there was no one there. An American tourist who had stayed in an annex near Rose Hall said he woke up at 3 a.m. to a light knock on the door. When he opened it, the hallway was empty, but a cold breeze blew past, giving him goosebumps. He went back to bed, but there were marks on his pillow as if someone had sat there before he returned. The next day, he left Jamaica, vowing never to return. Rose Hall is not just an old building, but a place where spirits have never been put to rest. It is believed that Annie is still there, not to repent, but to protect the power she once had. On full moon nights, people have seen a dark figure walking down the hallway, then disappearing behind the old wooden door. The smell of burning incense and a faint smoke sometimes appears, even though no one is burning anything. A local resident said he heard the sound of galloping horses in the distance, then the sound of whips cracking in the wind, as if time had turned back to the previous century. Scientists have tried to explain these phenomena by coincidence, hallucinations or natural echoes, but it is undeniable that Rose Hall has an unusual atmosphere. When entering, everyone feels heavy pressure, their heart beats fast, and their breathing becomes difficult. Some people believe that it is a sign of negative energy accumulated over hundreds of years. A priest once came to perform an exorcism, but just a few days later, he became seriously ill and had to leave. Since then, no one dared to try again. Today, Rose Hall is open to visitors, but tour guides always warn that one should not leave the group after dark. Some people say that when they take a photo, a shadow appears in the photo behind, even though there is no one there. Another woman said she heard someone whispering her name in the wind, causing her to collapse on the spot. Nevertheless, Rose Hall attracts thousands of people every year, all curious to witness the inexplicable. If one day you find yourself standing in the great hall of that mansion, the moonlight shining through the glass windows and the wind blowing through the cold stone walls, listen carefully. You may hear slow footsteps on the old wooden floor, or the rustle of silk dresses behind you. When that happens, don't turn around, because the woman in black may be standing right behind you, watching you with eyes that never close. Among the ancient trees of Bachelor's Grove in Illinois lies one of the most famous haunted places in America. This small cemetery has long been abandoned, the graves covered in weeds, the headstones leaning and covered with moss. During the day, this place is just sad and time-worn, but when night falls, no one dares to go near. Locals believe that the souls of the dead still linger here, and among them is a mysterious bride who often appears when the moon is bright. People call her the ghost bride of Bachelor's Grove. Dozens of witnesses over the decades have told the same story. They saw a woman in a white wedding dress sitting on an old grave, her hands on her knees, her head bowed as if crying. The moonlight casts a shadowy light on her face, making her look both beautiful and sad. Some say that when they approached, the figure vanished, leaving only the scent of roses in the wind. A photographer once took a famous picture of the ghost bride. He said that in 1991, when he was taking pictures of the cemetery in the afternoon, he saw no one around. But when the photo was developed, the image showed a woman sitting on a grave, the light shining through her white dress like mist. The photo was checked many times and showed no signs of editing. It is one of the clearest evidence that has made Bachelor's Grove the center of haunted stories for many years. People who have been here at night say they hear light footsteps on dry leaves, even though there is no one around. Some people claim they see a faint green light floating between the graves. sometimes emitting a murmur as if someone is praying. A paranormal researcher once said he felt a strong presence when he placed an energy meter near the bride's grave. The device recorded a sudden increase in electromagnetic waves and a rapid drop in temperature. He believes her spirit is still there, waiting for someone to return. Local legend has it that the girl was a young person who lived near this area more than a century ago. On her wedding day, on the way to church, her carriage crashed and overturned into the lake near the cemetery. She and her fiancé died on the spot. Since then, her spirit has never left this place, still wearing her white wedding dress, waiting for a wedding that never came. It is said that whenever someone passes by the lake at night, they will see the white silhouette of the bride reflected in the water, even though no one is standing there. Many visitors have experienced strange phenomena. When visiting Bachelor's Grove, one person said that his phone suddenly turned off even though it was still fully charged. And when it turned back on, a photo of himself appeared in the photo gallery with the silhouette of a woman in a white dress behind it. Another person said that when he and a friend walked around the cemetery, they heard wedding music playing in the distance, but there was no source. When the sound stopped, the wind blew, leaving a chill running down the spine. Scientists tried to explain this phenomenon with natural factors such as reflected light or distant sound waves, but there was no denying that Bachelor's Grove had an unusual atmosphere. Some people believed that the spirits here were trapped between two worlds, and that the bride was the one guiding them. Many people who had been here on a full moon day said that they felt someone following them, but when they turned around, there was only wind and rustling leaves. Once, a group of students brought a camera to record the phenomenon. When they reviewed the footage, a blurry white figure appeared behind them for a few seconds and then disappeared. They claimed that they did not see anything during the filming. One of the group later dreamed that the bride approached, holding out her hand as if to say something, but when he woke up, there was a faint red mark on his wrist as if it had been grabbed. Today, Bachelor's Grove remains a haunt for those who love to explore haunted stories. Though the government has banned it at night, some people still sneak back just to feel the eerie feeling of standing among hundreds of moss-covered graves. They say that you are never truly alone there. If you stand still long enough, you might hear a wedding dress rustle in the wind or a soft breath right behind you. And when you turn around, the moonlight will shine on an empty space, but your heart will know that something has just passed by. Pawleys Island is a small, peaceful, and picturesque coastal island in South Carolina. But behind its peaceful appearance lies a story that makes the locals both fearful and grateful. It is the legend of the Gray Man, a figure in a gray cloak who appears whenever a major storm is about to hit. Generations have told of those who saw him before the storm miraculously survived, even though their homes were swept away or the land was heavily damaged. The story is said to have begun in the early 19th century. A wealthy young man was returning from afar to visit his lover on the island. On the way back, he and his servant rode through the swamps on horseback. But while passing through a swampy area, the horse got stuck, and both of them sank into the deep mud. The servant escaped, but the young man could not escape and was buried in the swamp. When his lover heard the news, she broke down and cried for many days. People say that after she prayed on the beach, his spirit appeared, standing silently in a grey robe, looking towards the house where she was waiting. Since then, whenever a big storm was about to happen, people saw the grey man walking along the sand. He never spoke, just stood there, the wind blowing his robe, his face obscured by mist. Those who met him said that the feeling was not fear but a strange peace, as if he wanted to warn them to leave to escape disaster. One of the most famous stories happened in 1893, before the terrible San Siriaco hurricane devastated the coast. A family living near the island said that they saw a strange man dressed in a grey robe walking along the beach in a strong wind. When they called, he did not answer, just raised his hand towards the horizon. The family felt something was wrong and left the island that night. The next day, the storm swept through, destroying the entire area. But their house remained intact while everything else around it was flattened. This story is repeated every time a new storm comes along. In 1954, a couple who were walking before Hurricane Hazel arrived reported seeing a man dressed in grey standing near the sand dunes. He looked at them for a few seconds and then disappeared as the waves crashed against the shore. They panicked and ran home, packed up and left immediately. When the storm passed, their house was one of the few that remained intact. They believe that the grey man saved them. Paranormal researchers have visited Pawleys Island many times to investigate. A group with cameras and recorders recorded the strange phenomenon. One night, when the wind started to pick up, they filmed a grey figure standing near the water, moving slightly and then disappearing like smoke. A scientist on the team confirmed that there was no one in the area, and that the image could not have been a reflection of light or a camera effect, while some believe it is just an illusion caused by fog and moonlight. The people of Pawleys Island still believe that the grey man is the spirit of the young man from back then, forever protecting the island he once loved. Some say that when you see him, the sky suddenly calms down for a few seconds, as if the whole nature is silent to let the spirit pass. The elderly fishermen believe that he is a sign of life, not death, and they always bow their heads whenever they hear someone say they have seen him. A woman named Martha said she saw the grey man in 1989, a few days before Hurricane Hugo hit. She said that while walking along the beach, she saw a man standing in the distance in the mist. He did not move, did not speak, just looked at her. She said that in that moment, she felt as if someone was telling her to leave immediately. She did so and evacuated during the night. When the storm swept through, her house was one of the few that was not severely damaged. No one knows who the grey man really was, or why his spirit still exists. Some say he was unable to leave because of a promise he made to his lover. Others believe he was given the chance by God to save others. Whatever the reason, the image of the man in grey standing in the sea breeze remains a symbol of Pawleys Island, both haunting and comforting when the sun sets and the waves roll in. It is said that if you stand still long enough, you can see a shadowy figure walking across the sand. No footsteps, no breathing, just the absolute silence before the storm. The grey man appears not to scare people, but to remind people that amidst the devastation, there still exists the kindness of the restless spirit. If one day you come to Pawleys Island and hear the wind howling louder than usual, look at the horizon. Maybe someone is standing there, silently watching you with sad but gentle eyes. And if tomorrow comes a storm, know that he tried to save you one more time. In the heart of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there is a massive stone structure with high walls and endless hallways. It is the Eastern State Penitentiary, which was considered the most modern prison in America when it opened in 1829. But inside those cold walls, thousands of people lived and died in absolute solitude. They were locked alone in small cells, not allowed to talk or see others. The purpose of that system was to make them repent in silence. But what this prison really created was madness, despair, and souls that could not rest today. When Eastern State Penitentiary is no longer in operation, visitors still hear strange echoes in the long hallways. Some people say they hear prisoners moaning, the sound of chains being pulled, or a steady tapping on the wall at night. One tour guide said that, while giving a tour, he felt someone standing right behind him. When they returned, all they saw was darkness. But the visitor's camera captured a shadowy figure hovering in the hallway. Paranormal investigators spent many nights in cell block 12, which is said to be the most active. They brought along audio recorders and heat sensors. One night, while they were filming, they heard someone whispering their names to each member of the group. The heat sensors showed that the air around them suddenly dropped several degrees, and the dark figure moved slowly across the wall like fog. One member said he felt a gentle tug on his arm, and when he looked down, he saw a mark on his wrist. The most famous story here involves Al Capone, the notorious criminal who was imprisoned at Eastern State. It is said that despite only being incarcerated for a short time, Capone often screamed in the middle of the night, begging for forgiveness. He claimed to be haunted by the ghost of James Clark, one of the men he killed in the Valentine Massacre. Prison guards at the time said Capone's screams echoed through the walls, silencing the other inmates in fear. Modern witnesses say Capone's spirit has not left. Some visitors say that when they stood near his old cell, they heard faint jazz music, as if from another world. One said she heard a hoarse male voice telling them to leave immediately, and when she turned around, no one was there. Eastern State Penitentiary is also known for the phenomenon of white figures walking through the hallways. Many people describe the same image, a figure dressed in prison clothes, head down, walking slowly, then disappearing round the corner. Some tour guides say that in the winter, when there are no visitors, they can still hear the sound of locks ringing, even though all the doors are sealed. Sound experts have tried to record the sounds in this prison. When they played back the tape over the sound of the wind and their own footsteps, they heard a faint human voice saying, "I can't leave." No one knew where the sound came from. Some believed it was the souls of prisoners who had been locked in the darkness for so long that their souls melted into the stone walls. A former guard once said that during his night shift, he walked through the main corridor and saw a man standing at the end of the corridor, his back turned. Thinking it was an intruder, he called out to him, but the man didn't respond. As he approached, the figure gradually faded away. He said it wasn't a feeling of fear, but a deep sadness, as if the man was waiting for someone to come back to him. Many visitors, after touring the prison, said they felt strange energy. Some felt dizzy, others felt like someone was walking beside them the whole way, even though they couldn't see anyone. A woman once fainted when standing in front of cell number 48, which used to house a mentally ill prisoner who died after talking to the wall for many years. Today, Eastern State Penitentiary is open as a museum, but even though it has become a tourist attraction, the atmosphere here is still thick with gloom. When night falls, the narrow windows reflect the cold moonlight. The wind blows through, creating a sound like a moan. Many people believe that the souls of the prisoners never leave. They still walk down the hallway, step through the iron door, and return to their old room, repeating forever. If you stand in silence in that prison, just close your eyes, you can hear the faint breathing, the sound of iron chains hitting, and feel someone watching. When you open your eyes, you will find yourself alone, but your heart beats faster and the cold will cover your whole body. Eastern State Penitentiary is more than just a relic. It is a place where time is trapped, and souls who have never been free still wait for someone to listen to their stories. In the mid-19th century, Adams, Tennessee, was home to the Bell family, a well-liked family of farmers. But no one expected that their small home would become the center of one of the most terrifying supernatural phenomena in American history. The story of the Bell Witch begins in 1817, when strange sounds appeared on the farm and quickly turned their life into a nightmare. At first, it was just light tapping on the wall at night. John Bell, the homeowner, thought it was wild animals. But when the tapping became more frequent, accompanied by whispering from an unknown source, the family began to worry. They heard someone walking round the house, the sound of furniture being dragged, and even giggling coming from an empty room. One night, John's daughter, Betsy, screamed when she felt someone grab her hair and slap her in the face, even though no one was around. From there, the nightmare officially began. The strange phenomena became more and more intense. Objects moved, blankets were pulled from the bed, voices could be heard from the darkness. The voice could change its tone, sometimes soft, sometimes angry. It was believed to be the spirit of a woman named Kate Batts, who had had a conflict with the Bell family when she was alive. Legend has it that she was cheated by John Bell in a land deal, and before she died, she cursed him and his entire family. People living in the area began to hear the rumors and came to see. Strangely, many of them also heard the voice. It knew everything, called people by name, and recalled things that had happened many years before. A famous priest came to perform an exorcism, but the voice in the darkness only laughed loudly and said that he could not drive away the thing that had chosen to stay. That night, he had to leave in fear. Betsy, the daughter, suffered the most. She was often pulled by the hair, slapped in the face, and even strangled in her sleep. Many times she woke up in the middle of the night, seeing a blurry figure standing in the corner of the room. She described the face as unclear, only the eyes were bright like fire. One day, the voice said that she was never allowed to marry her lover, and soon after, her fiancé suddenly fell ill and left that land forever. John Bell became the main target of this force. He suffered from a strange disease, often convulsed, and suffered from pain of unknown cause. The voice often mocked him, saying that his death was imminent. On the day he died, people discovered a strange medicine bottle in the house whose origin no one knew. The voice echoed throughout the house, saying that it was the one that poisoned him. After John died, the voice laughed loudly, then gradually disappeared. However, not long after, some people heard the sound again. They said that the voice promised to return in 7 years. And true to his word, 7 years later, strange noises were heard again in the night. Since then, the Bell Witch has become a part of Tennessee history, making it a destination for paranormal enthusiasts. Modern scientists have tried to find an explanation. They believe that the sounds could be caused by wind, earthquakes, or collective hallucinations, but they cannot explain why so many people in different places hear the same voice. Some spiritualists believe that this is a powerful spirit, or even an evil energy formed from people's own fears. Today, the Bell family's land has become a tourist destination, and in the ground there is still a small cave called the Bell Witch Cave. Visitors say that when they enter, they feel the cold air around them. The sound of dripping water is clearer than usual. Some people say they hear whispers right next to their ears while walking in the dark. Some even claim that someone gently tugs on their shirt or touches their shoulder. A team of investigators recorded in the cave and picked up a faint laugh, even though no one spoke during the recording. Locals believe the spirit has not left. Some say that on rainy nights, they hear a steady tapping on the window, just like the first one the Bell family heard over 200 years ago. Some say that if you call Kate Batts's name 3 times at the cave door, you will hear a response. Although no one dares to test it, the rumor has spread through the generations. The Bell Witch haunting is not just a horror story, but also a reminder that there are things beyond human understanding. In the dark of night, when the wind blows through the Tennessee woods, you may hear someone chuckling or tapping on the door. When that happens, remember that the Bell Witch may have returned, watching you from where no one can see. In the heart of San Jose, California, the Winchester Mystery House stands like a giant maze of haunting and sin. From the outside, it looks like a beautiful mansion with peaked roofs and ancient windows. But inside is a chaotic world full of mysteries. Over 160 rooms, dozens of staircases leading to the ceiling, doors opening to nothingness, endless winding hallways. Every detail of the house seems to be created by a mind trying to escape from something invisible. And it is believed that the spirit of Sarah Winchester is at the center of it all. Sarah Winchester was the widow of William Winchester, heir to the famous Winchester rifle empire. The sudden death of her husband and daughter left her in great grief. A friend introduced her to a psychic, and during the seance, the psychic said that the spirits of those killed by Winchester guns were cursing her family. They would not let her go until she built a house to house them. Fearful and desperate, Sarah obeyed and began building Winchester Manor, a project that lasted for 18 years without stopping for a single day. She hired dozens of builders to work day and night. When a section of the house was completed, she ordered it demolished and rebuilt. No one knew why she did this, but some said she believed that if the house stopped being built, the spirits would find her and kill her. So the construction continued, growing like a nightmare. Spiral staircases led to the ceiling, doors opened onto brick walls, narrow passageways suddenly turned off for no reason. It seemed the house was designed to keep lost souls from ever finding her. After Sarah died in 1922, the house became a symbol of haunting. It was said that at night, lights would still be on in some rooms even when no one was there. Some people have heard the sound of hammers hammering like construction workers, slow footsteps echoing in the hallway, or a woman's whispering voice coming from a locked room. A security guard once said he saw a figure in a black dress walking through the hallway, thinking it was a lost tourist, but when he got closer, the person disappeared into thin air. A paranormal investigation team once stayed overnight to record audio and video. They set up cameras in the main hallway and the music room where Sarah used to sit for a seance every night. When they reviewed the tapes, they discovered a door slowly opening and closing by itself. In another part, there was a soft sound like a piano, even though there were no musical instruments in the room. One of the teams said he felt a cold hand on his shoulder, and when he turned around, there was only darkness. Many visitors have said that when they walked up the strange staircase leading to the ceiling, they felt as if someone was walking right behind them. Some say they hear whispers right next to their ears, but when they turn around, the hallways are empty. Some even see a small woman dressed in 19th century clothing walking through the rooms, her face hazy. It is believed to be Sarah Winchester. Still unable to leave the house, she spent half her life building for the spirits. Strangely, anyone who stays in this house says they feel a distinct energy, not malevolence, but deep sadness. The house seems to live, breathing with the memories of those who have passed away. Some say that when they stand on the main staircase, they hear the sounds of dozens of workers echoing, as if the past is still going on in a parallel world. An engineer who has studied the Winchester House's architecture says it is impossible to determine the overall structure because it is so complex. Each floor has secret rooms connected by narrow passages, and when you open the door, you may face a blank wall or a deep abyss. Some believe that Sarah deliberately created these absurd things to distract the spirits so that they could not find her. Another theory is that she was truly haunted and that it was the negative energy that made the house come alive. Today, Winchester Mystery House is a destination that attracts thousands of tourists every year. But not everyone can stand the feeling of being there for too long. Many people leave halfway because they feel someone watching them from behind the curtain. One woman said that when she took a photo, she saw a flash of light, and in the photo appeared a strange face standing next to her. Although it may be a coincidence, when hundreds of people have experienced the same feeling, the coincidence becomes unbelievable. If one night you stand in front of the door of that house, imagine hundreds of spirits walking inside, searching for a way out in vain. And if you hear a tapping on the wall or a cold breath on the back of your neck, fear not. It might just be Sarah Winchester continuing to build her house in a place where time no longer exists. In the villages of Mexico, when night falls, adults often tell their children to go home before they hear La Llorona crying. The story of that woman has existed for hundreds of years and has been passed down through many generations. Although it is just a story, there are too many people who claim to have heard, seen, and never forgotten that mournful cry. Legend has it that a long time ago, there was a young woman named Maria who lived in a small village by the river. She was famous for her beauty and sweet voice that captivated everyone. One day, Maria met a nobleman and they quickly fell in love. They had 2 children and lived happily until her husband began to change. He ran away with another woman, leaving Maria with pain and resentment. In desperation, Maria took her 2 children to the riverbank, where the cold wind blew across the water. In a moment of blindness, she threw them into the rushing river, then realized the terrible thing she had done. She dove after her children, but it was too late. Both children were swept away by the water, and Maria died in despair. It is said that her soul could not rest, condemned to wander the rivers forever, searching for her lost children, wailing in the darkness. The cry of La Llorona is described the same everywhere. It begins with a distant sob, then a scream that echoes in the silence of the night. Many say they hear the cry right next to their ears, even when no one is around. One man said that while driving over a bridge at midnight, he saw a woman dressed in white standing by the railing, her long hair hanging down, her head bowed. When he slowed down to ask her, the woman looked up, and a face without eyes or nose appeared before disappearing. He was so frightened that he never dared to return to that road again. People who live near the river say that on moonlit nights, they see a shadowy figure walking along the water's edge. One young woman once said she heard crying while washing clothes near the river. When she looked up, she saw a white figure standing on the other side of the bank, watching her. A chill ran down her spine, and when she blinked, the figure disappeared, leaving only the sound of gurgling water and wind. A paranormal investigation team once went to the area near Guanajuato to investigate. They set up a recording device near the river, and, at around 3 a.m., they heard a woman's faint crying mixed with a child's voice calling for her mother. The sound was recorded clearly, but no one was there. When the team moved the device, they found the ground still wet, as if someone had walked on it. Despite the dry weather all night, there are those who believe that La Llorona is not just a legend, but a real spirit. They believe she appears to warn people of danger, especially those who are cruel to children. However, many stories also say that whoever hears her cry will encounter bad luck. Some say that if the cry sounds far away, it means she is near, and if it sounds very close, she is far away. No one knows if it is true or not, but those who have experienced it do not want to verify it a second time. In many places in Latin America, people still hold mass for the soul of La Llorona, hoping that she will rest in peace. But every year, people still claim to see her by deserted rivers. One man said that while fishing at dawn, he saw a woman sitting on the bank, her long black hair covering her face. When he approached, she turned her head. Her eyes were black and hollow, and her face was pale as wax. He ran away, but he could still hear the crying behind him until dawn. La Llorona has become a symbol of pain and regret. Although she is considered a ghost, she is also a reminder that love can turn to tragedy when the heart is clouded by darkness. It is said that her spirit will forever search for her 2 children, and anyone who hears her cries will carry that sadness in their hearts. If you pass by a deserted river at night, the water is still and the wind is cold, listen carefully. If you hear someone calling out, "My child," leave quickly, because La Llorona may be looking for her lost children, and no one knows what she will do when she realizes you are not hers. Amid the lush green fields of Louisiana, hidden behind rows of ancient oak trees, is Myrtle's Plantation, an ancient manor built in the 18th century. From afar, this place looks peaceful and beautiful, like a picture of the American South. But to the locals, it is a land where the worlds of the living and the dead merge. More than 100 strange phenomena have been recorded here, making Myrtle's Plantation known as the most haunted house in America. This house was once owned by Clark Woodruff and his wife, Sarah. They lived here with 3 children and a number of servants. Among them was a girl named Chloe, who was described as intelligent and clever, but also the one who brought a curse to the whole manor. According to legend, Chloe was once discovered eavesdropping on the conversation of her master and was punished by having her ear cut off. From then on, she always wore a green scarf around her head to cover the wound. In fear of being evicted, she secretly put poison leaves in cakes with the intention of making Sarah and the children slightly sick so that she could take care of them and regain their trust. But the plan went wrong and killed all 3. When the crime was discovered, the other servants hanged Chloe from a tree in front of the house, and since then, her spirit has never left this place. Many witnesses claim that they have seen a black woman wearing a long dress and a green scarf, appearing in the hallway or standing looking out the window. A photo taken in 1992 by a visitor accidentally captured the figure between the 2 houses. Experts analyzed the photo and confirmed that there were no signs of editing. Since then, the image of Chloe has become the most terrifying symbol of Myrtle's Plantation. Visitors to the place say that when they sleep in Sarah Woodruff's room, they hear footsteps walking around the bed at night. A woman said she felt a cold hand on her shoulder while lying down, and when she turned on the lights, the room was empty. A paranormal investigation team stayed overnight to film. In the video, when they asked if Chloe's spirit was there, the microphone recorded a soft voice saying yes. It is believed that there are many other spirits in this place. One of them is a slave girl shot to death during the Confederate War, who still plays in the hallway. Visitors say they hear children's laughter or see a small ball rolling across the floor when no one is there. A man once saw the little girl's figure running past, her hair fluttering, then disappearing right in front of him. The house's large mirror room is said to be the most haunted place. It is said that after Sarah and her 2 children died, Their souls were trapped in an antique mirror because people forgot to cover it according to custom. Many visitors claim to have seen the imprint of a hand on the mirror, or a shadow that flickers when no one is in the room. Some say the mirror makes a tapping sound, as if someone is trying to escape. A longtime tour guide says that sometimes, when he passes the living room, he smells the scent of jasmine, the perfume Sarah Woodruff used to wear. He says that on nights the chandeliers in the room sway without a breeze, and the windows open even when they are locked. He believes Sarah is still there, wandering around looking for the children she never saved. Myrtle's plantation is now open to visitors and even overnight stays, but many leave mid-trip, unable to bear the gloomy atmosphere. One woman said that while she was taking pictures of the hallway, a voice whispered to her, asking if she was scared. When she looked at the pictures, she saw a streak of blue light hovering round her. Another couple said they saw a shadowy figure standing at the bottom of the stairs, watching them. But when they got closer, there was no one there. Scientists have tried to explain these phenomena by light, sound reflection, or psychological effects. But no one can deny the fact that hundreds of people who come here feel the same thing. Not imagination, but the feeling that someone is watching them, waiting to tell their story. Whether it is legend or truth, Myrtle's plantation is a place where every sound of the wind blowing makes people shiver. When night falls and the moon hangs over the oak branches, it is said that if you look closely at the second-floor window, you will see the shadow of a woman in a green scarf standing there, looking at you with deep, sad eyes. In Glasgow, Scotland, there is an old theatre called Queen's Park Theatre, which was once a brilliant centre of the arts in the early 20th century. Every night, hundreds of people came here to enjoy operas and classical plays. But over time, the theatre gradually became quiet, and now, what remains in that space is not only the old music, but also the sounds from the other world. Locals call this place the Theatre of Ghosts, where the souls never leave the stage. The legend begins with the story of an actress named Margaret, who was once the brightest star of the theatre. She was famous for her clear voice and the ability to make the audience cry. But on a rainy night, while performing the lead role in the play Romeo and Juliet, an accident occurred. A stage light fell, breaking the hanging rope, and the fire quickly spread. The audience panicked and ran outside, but Margaret was trapped backstage. It is said that when the firefighters arrived, they could only hear her singing her final song amidst the thick smoke. Since then, her spirit is said to still linger in the theatre, where she once performed and where she died years later. When the theatre reopened, a series of strange events occurred. Actors reported hearing footsteps moving on the stage floor when no one was there. Some felt a chill run down their spines during rehearsals. A lighting technician said that when he adjusted the lights at night, the lights suddenly turned toward the center of the stage, where the figure of a woman in a white dress appeared, standing silently looking out at the empty seats. He panicked and turned the lights off, and when he turned them back on, no one was there. A paranormal research team came to investigate in 1985. They brought tape recorders, cameras, and motion sensors. While filming, they heard soft singing coming from the basement, even though no one was there. When they ran down to check, the door was locked from the outside. One member of the crew said that he smelled smoke and perfume in the air, like traces of a woman who had lived in the previous century. Audience members also had strange experiences. One woman said that when she saw the musical in 1992, she saw an extra on stage wearing an old white dress. She thought it was part of the performance, but when she asked the organizers, They confirmed that no such person was present at the performance that day. Others said that when the stage lights went out, they saw a woman's shadow walk across the auditorium, then disappear through the back door. The cleaning staff at the theater were the ones who witnessed the most things. One said that at night, while he was sweeping the seats, he heard someone whispering in his ear, "Let me finish the performance." When he returned, there was no one. Sometimes he heard the piano playing by itself, even though the lid was closed. One night, he saw the stage curtain swaying slightly, even though there was no wind. After a few years, he quit because he felt watched every time he was alone in the dark auditorium. A new sound engineer said he always heard a woman's voice singing when the sound system was tested. At first, he thought it was electrical interference, but when he turned off all the equipment, the voice still rang out, sad like a message from another world. When he asked his old manager, the manager just smiled and said it was Margaret, singing her last song like every night. Not only the auditorium, the backstage area was also full of mysteries. An actress once said that she saw a mirror in the dressing room, reflecting the shadow of someone standing behind her, even though she was alone. When she returned, the room was empty. She quickly ran away and never returned to that performance. Many others have also said that when they looked in the mirror, they saw the figure of a long-haired woman smiling at them before disappearing. Scientists have tried to explain, saying that the sounds may come from the resonance phenomenon in the ancient theater architecture, and the shadows may be due to the reflection of light. But those who have worked here all say that the feeling of someone standing right behind them is real. One person said that when he tested the microphone on stage, he heard a woman's voice joining in, and the sound sent a chill down his spine, because it was so perfect that it felt like he was singing with a real singer. Today, the Queen's Park Theatre is still open to visitors and holds performances. But at night, when the lights go out and the auditorium is left in darkness, people say that Margaret still stands in the middle of the stage in a white dress, singing a sad song as if saying goodbye to the audience she will never leave. Perhaps for her, the performance never ends. The Tower of London, situated on the banks of the River Thames, is one of England's most iconic buildings, but behind its grandeur lies a bloody history spanning more than 1,000 years. Originally built as a defensive fortress in the 11th century, the Tower of London became a notorious prison where traitors, witches, and enemies of the crown were imprisoned and executed. For hundreds of years, the wails of the condemned souls have echoed in the air, and to this day, many believe they have never left. One of the most famous stories is that of Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. She was accused of treason and adultery and beheaded in the Tower courtyard in 1536. It is said that on quiet nights, night watchmen have seen the shadow of a woman dressed in Tudor dress walking through the corridors, clutching her own head. A guard once fainted when he saw the figure appear in the chapel, the light from the torch reflected on the headless face. Not only Anne Boleyn, many other spirits are also said to wander in the tower. Two young princes, Edward and Richard, sons of King Edward IV, were brought here after their father died. They were promised protection, but then disappeared without a trace. Centuries later, when the tower was being repaired, two small skeletons believed to be the two princes were found. Since then, visitors and workers here often hear children's laughter echoing in the empty corridor, or see the shadows of two boys holding hands, standing and looking out the window. A soldier said that during his night shift, he saw a small figure running through the corridor, thinking it was a lost guest. He chased after it, but there was no trace except for the echoing laughter. After a while, he looked back. 2 blurry figures were standing in the middle of the stairs, then disappeared into the moonlight. From then on, he asked to be transferred because he felt that every night on duty was a night facing the past. Another ghost that is often mentioned is Margaret Pole, Countess of Salisbury. She was unjustly executed in 1541 when she was nearly 70 years old. It is said that when the executioners first blow mist, she ran round the yard, blood splattered everywhere. The executioner had to strike her several times before she could end her life. Since then, whenever there is a thick fog, people have heard screams and footsteps running round the yard. One employee said that in the early morning, he saw a long trail of blood on the stone steps. But when he returned just a few minutes later, the trail had completely disappeared. The Tower of London also has other lesser-known ghosts. Some people have seen the shadow of a man in armor, holding a sword, patrolling the walls. Some visitors have felt a chill on their necks when passing through the old torture chamber, where hundreds of prisoners once died in agony. One woman said that when she stood near the torture rack, she heard faint gasps and moans, as if the souls of the dead were still tied there. Many paranormal investigation teams have spent many nights in the tower recording audio and video. During one filming at the White Tower, they caught a faint voice saying, "Help me." The motion sensors recorded many unusual signals, and the temperature dropped sharply when the team entered the old cell. One member said he felt someone standing behind him, and when he turned around, a faint figure flashed in the corner and disappeared. Historians believe that the heavy atmosphere of the Tower of London comes not only from the cold stone architecture, but also from the energy of hundreds of painful deaths that have occurred here. Every brick seems to be soaked with the memory of blood and tears. Many witnesses believe that the souls here are not evil, they are just trapped in the place where they once suffered. They walk through the corridor, looking out over the Thames, waiting for the day of deliverance. On winter nights, when the fog is thick and the clock chimes in the distance, it is said that if you stand near the main gate, you will see a faint blue light drifting through the air, like the spirits on patrol. Some believe that they do not want to leave, because this place is all that remains of them. If you ever come to London and visit the old tower, listen carefully as the wind blows through the stone corridor. You may hear Anne Boleyn whispering, or the laughter of 2 young princes. And if you feel someone watching you from the shadows, remember that you are only a temporary guest in the home of the spirits who never leave this place. Nestled in the middle of Colorado's Estes Park Valley, the Stanley Hotel rises from the mist like an ancient palace. During the day, it glows in the sunlight, but at night, the atmosphere changes completely. The wind from the Rocky Mountains blows through, making the creaking of the hallways echo like whispers. Those who have stayed here agree that this hotel never truly sleeps. The hotel was built in 1909 by F.O. Stanley, founder of the Stanley Steamer Car Company. He built it as a resort for his wife and the upper class. But no one expected the structure to become one of the most famous haunted places in America. The story of the Stanley Hotel spread further after the writer. Stephen King stayed there in 1974. One night, he dreamed of his son being chased by a demon in the endless hallways. And the next morning, he wrote The Shining, the classic horror novel of all time. But what happens in the book only reflects a small part of the real fear that pervades this place. The hotel has dozens of rooms, but room 217 is the most famous. A gas explosion occurred here in 1911, seriously injuring a female employee named Elizabeth Wilson. She survived, but her spirit is said to still haunt the hotel. Guests have reported that when they stay in this room, they see lights turning on and off, even though the switches have not been touched, or their luggage neatly arranged when they return. One couple said that when they entered their room, their suitcases opened by themselves, and their clothes were neatly folded on the bed as if an invisible servant was at work. Hotel staff say that every night, the fourth-floor hallway is filled with the sound of children running back and forth. A security guard once said he heard small laughter behind him when he was on patrol. When he returned, there was only wind blowing through the curtains. A group of guests who stayed here for the spooky experience recorded the sound of a piano playing in the middle of the night, even though the music room was closed and empty. Room 401 is equally famous. It is said that the spirit of Lord Dunraven, the former owner of the property, still wanders there. One male visitor said that someone pulled his blanket while he was sleeping, and when he turned on the light, the blanket fell to the floor without anyone in the room. Another woman said that she felt someone sitting next to her on the bed, but when she turned around, she only saw a slight dent in the sheets. Stanley Hotel tour guides say they are used to seeing a white figure gliding down the stairs, or feeling an unusual chill in the east corridor. One of them said that while he was showing guests around, he heard the sound of a violin coming from the old music room, and when he got closer, the sound suddenly stopped. He said he felt someone looking out from behind the curtain, but when he pulled it back, the room was empty. A paranormal investigation team once stayed overnight with infrared sensors and cameras. In the video footage, they saw a ball of light fly across the hallway, then disappear when it passed through the wall. The temperature measuring device recorded a colder air around room 217, as if something invisible was moving. One member said he felt his hand being gently grabbed, as if someone was trying to pull him away. Many visitors said that when they took photos in the main lobby, they saw strange streaks of light appear behind them. One woman said that when she was taking a photo with her husband, she felt someone standing between them. When she reviewed the photo, there was indeed a transparent shadow in the middle. The face was unclear, but the lines resembled a middle-aged woman. She believed it was Elizabeth Wilson, the loyal maid who had not left the hotel after more than a century. Some people believe that the spirit here is not malicious. They just continue their unfinished work or protect what used to be their home. But some people feel something else. One visitor said that at night, she dreamed that she walked down a long hallway. All the doors opened at the same time, and blurry faces looked out. When she woke up, she found her door open, even though she had locked it before going to sleep. During the day, the Stanley Hotel still attracts hundreds of visitors, but when night falls, the sound of the wind mixed with the creaking of the wooden floors makes people feel like time has stopped. Some people say that if you stand in the lobby and close your eyes, you will hear people chatting softly, the laughter of old visitors, and the sound of the piano, playing like an invisible orchestra reenacting a never-ending gala. The Stanley Hotel is not only a place that inspires creepy stories, but also proof that the worlds of the living and the dead are sometimes only separated by a thin door. And when that door opens, what you hear might be soft music, or it might be someone's breathing right behind you. The North Atlantic has always been a place of mystery. The cold waters, thick fog, and huge waves make it a land of legend. But of all the stories told, none is more chilling than the legend of the unnamed ghost ship that drifts at sea, carrying the souls of sailors who never returned. People call it the ghost ship of the North Atlantic, The first records of this ship appeared in the 19th century. A Norwegian sailor named Erik said that while he was navigating a cargo ship through the waters near Greenland, he saw an ancient ship with tattered sails, its hull covered with seaweed. There was no sound of the engine, no signal, just a giant black shadow quietly drifting through the fog. When they tried to shine a flashlight to observe more closely, the hull glowed faintly as if reflecting the moonlight, then disappeared completely. The crew stood still, and a few hours later, the sea began to churn violently, and the wind blew as if something was angry. From there, the story spread throughout the crew. Many believed that the ship was a sign of death. Anyone who saw it would meet with an accident or be lost at sea. A 1902 report recorded the account of British sailor James Cooper, who claimed that he saw the ghost ship while on duty at midnight. He described it as a giant white figure floating by, with a dim light shining from below deck. He called his crew to come and see, but when they arrived, the ship had disappeared, leaving only a cold mist. A week later, their ship encountered a great storm and sank. With only a few survivors, there are many theories that the ghost ship is the wreck of a merchant ship that sank in the early 18th century. Some believe it is the Mary Celeste, the famous ship that was discovered floating in the middle of the ocean without a single sailor on board. Inside, everything was intact. The meal was unfinished. The captain's log stopped midway. No one knows what happened. Some believe the crew was murdered by pirates. Others say they were dragged into the sea by a supernatural force. But then many people claim to have seen the ship's silhouette drifting through the ocean as if it had never actually sunk. A Canadian captain named Robert said that in 1924, while passing near Newfoundland, he saw a large ship without a flag drifting against the wind. He tried to contact it with a signal light, but got no response. As he got closer, he noticed figures moving on the deck, but they were all transparent, the light passing through them like smoke. When his ship was only a few hundred meters away, a thick fog enveloped it, and when it cleared, the other ship disappeared completely. He recorded the event in his logbook with the short words, "I saw them." Later research groups tried to understand, suggesting that it could be an optical illusion called Fata Morgana, where light reflects off a layer of cold air and creates the image of a floating ship. However, what was frightening was that dozens of witnesses, at different times, on different routes, all gave the same description. They saw the ship in the middle of a calm sea, its light pale, and the feeling of being watched from the other side of the fog. Some local fishermen said they heard the ship's bell ringing at night, even though there were no ships nearby. Some say the bell rang 3 times, then stopped, and the sea began to churn violently. An old sailor once said he heard voices on the wind, in a language no one understood, and when he returned, the sea was as calm as if nothing had happened. There are also many modern stories. In 2013, an Icelandic fishing boat recorded a large moving object on radar, but there was no signal. They turned on their lights, and in the fog, a silhouette of a ship appeared. The sailors said they could clearly see the deck, with torn cloth and broken masts. When they got closer, all the electronic equipment suddenly stopped working. After a few minutes, the ship disappeared from the radar screen, as if it had never existed. Today, many people believe that the souls of sailors who died at sea still cling to that ship, forever drifting in the cold ocean. Some spiritualists say they heard faint prayers when recording on that sea. Perhaps those souls are still searching for their way home, but never reach the shore. If one night you are sailing across the cold waters of the North Atlantic and see a ship drifting silently in the fog, remember the words of the ancient mariners. Never call out, never shine your lights, for if you do, they may look back at you from the darkness and invite you to join them on a journey that will never return. High on a hill outside Louisville, Kentucky, stands the massive Waverly Hills Sanatorium. It was once a symbol of hope for tuberculosis sufferers in the early 20th century, but it was also the site of thousands of painful deaths. More than a century later, the building still stands, cold and silent. But locals say it is never truly quiet at night. Waverly Hills was built in 1910, when tuberculosis was raging across the United States. Thousands of patients were brought here, hoping for a miracle. But medicine was not yet developed, and most of those who came here never returned. They died alone, amid coughing, praying, and the sound of wheelchairs rolling down the hallways. It is estimated that more than 8,000 people lost their lives here, and each soul seems to linger in the building. One of the most terrifying parts of Waverly Hills is the tunnel known as the Death Tunnel. It is a long slope that runs from the basement to the back of the hill, where bodies are moved so as not to cause despair to other patients. Many who have passed through this tunnel say they have heard the sound of wheels rolling on the floor, even though the place has been abandoned for decades. Some even say that halfway down they saw a shadowy figure walking back up, its face pale as if covered in mist. A tour guide said that as he led a group of visitors into the tunnel, they heard a faint moaning sound in the distance. When they stopped, the sound stopped, but when they continued, the sound echoed closer, as if someone was walking alongside them in the darkness. One visitor once fainted after feeling a cold hand on his neck while no one was around. Waverly Hills Room 502 is equally famous. According to old records, a nurse hanged herself here in 1928 after discovering she was pregnant by an unplanned pregnancy with a doctor in the hospital. A year later, another nurse was found jumping from the balcony on the same floor. Since then, people say that room 502 is cursed. People who enter often feel heavy chests and dizziness. One person said that when taking a photo, she saw a shadow standing by the window, and when reviewing the face, it revealed empty eyes staring straight into the camera. A group of paranormal investigators spent 3 nights here. They set up cameras, recorders, and heat sensors throughout the hallway. In one recording, they saw a ball rolling slowly across the floor, even though there was no wind. A weak child's voice said, "Play with me." When they checked the next room, there was no one. They believe it was the spirit of a boy named Timmy, who was a patient here and loved to play ball. A security guard who worked at Waverly Hills said he often heard doors slamming in the middle of the night, even though the entire area was locked. Once, he saw a figure in a white blouse walking through the hallway. Thinking it was a tourist, he called out, but the person disappeared right in front of him. Many others said they heard the faint sound of an organ coming from the chapel, even though the place had been abandoned for a long time. Not only is it a haunted place, Waverly Hills is also a testament to the pain of thousands of people who lived and died here. In a nurse's diary, one can read the words, "I still hear them coughing all night long." A doctor who used to work here said that he often felt someone watching him from the window while on duty. But when he turned back, he only saw mist reflecting the moonlight. Today, Waverly Hills has become a destination for those who love to explore and believe in the afterlife. Many people come here just to feel that invisible presence. Some people say that when they pass through the main hallway, they see shadows moving in the empty room, or hear light footsteps behind them. One woman said that when she stood in front of room 502, she heard a woman crying. When she entered, the room became cold, and the breath she saw in the air seemed to dissipate into the void. A famous investigator once said that the energy in Waverly Hills is very strong, not because of malice, but because the spirits here have not been heard. They still stay, reminding people of the pain of the past. When night falls, the wind blows through the hallway, creating a sound like a whisper. It may just be the wind, but it may also be the words of thousands of spirits telling their stories to those who dare to listen. If you stand in that building one night, amidst the thick darkness and the surrounding cold, you can hear the footsteps of the deceased, and when your weak flashlight shines, don't be surprised if you see someone's figure standing at the end of the hallway, looking back at you in silence. On a remote hill in the Lombardy region of Italy, hidden in dense forests, there is an ancient monastery called San Pietro. This place used to be a sacred place for Benedictine monks in the 17th century. But after an epidemic and a fire, it was abandoned forever. Since then, no one dared to come near at night. Local people say that every time the sky is foggy, the bell tower of the monastery rings out a deep sound, even though the bell had been broken for hundreds of years. According to legend, in the 17th century, a monk named Matteo lived in that monastery. He was famous for his piety, but also for his strange dreams. Matteo believed that there was something in the monastery that did not belong to God. He said that every night he heard someone walking round the bell tower, even though all the doors were locked. One night, when he climbed up to check, he saw a figure in a black cloak standing looking out the window. When he called out, the figure returned, its face blank, and a voice in his head said, "You are not allowed here." The next morning, Matteo was found lying at the foot of the tower, still clutching the rosary. The bell tower has since been closed, but the bell still rings on full moon nights. Many believe that Matteo's spirit is trapped in the tower, forever ringing the bell to warn of something. Some say that when they pass through the nearby woods, they hear the bells ringing, then a monotonous singing in an ancient language. One farmer once said that when he was looking for lost cattle, he saw a faint light in the bell tower. As he approached, he saw a dark figure moving past the window, and a human voice whispering like a prayer. When he took another step, the light went out, and the whole forest fell into an eerie silence. Several paranormal investigation groups have tried to enter the monastery. A group of university students visited in 1986. They brought cameras and recorders. When they entered, the temperature dropped sharply even though it was summer. One of them said that when they reached the stairs leading to the tower, they heard footsteps above. As they climbed, the footsteps echoed down as if someone was walking in the opposite direction. When they reached the top, the wooden door was locked, but the camera recorded the sound of metal colliding and the bell ringing right above their heads. When the group left, one person discovered a pale red handprint on his shoulder, cold as ice. In 2003, an amateur German cameraman also came here to film for his personal project. In the short film, he recorded the scene of the bell tower standing tall in the fog. But the strange thing was that when he played back the video, there was a silhouette of a person standing behind the window, his face pale and unclear. He confirmed that when he filmed, the window was completely empty. The footage then went viral in the paranormal community and became strong evidence that the monastery was indeed haunted. Locals say that when the wind blew through the woods, they could hear chanting even though no one was there. A woman who lived near the area said that she had seen a faint light from the tower reflected in the stream at midnight. She described it as a flame, but when she looked closely, she saw a figure holding a torch walking around the top of the tower. When she blinked, it was gone, leaving only a strange smell of smoke. A young priest came to perform an exorcism. Here in 2011, he said that as he was chanting, the wind picked up so strongly that the windows flew open. He felt a chill from the bell tower, and in that moment, he heard the bell ring. Then, the microphone picked up a faint voice saying to go away. The priest believed that Mateo's spirit was still there, trying to protect the monastery from something darker. Some researchers believe that the monastery was built on land that was once an ancient Roman cemetery, and that the spiritual energy from there still exists. Another theory says that the bells are just the sound of wind blowing through the hollow tower, creating an auditory illusion. But no one can explain the shadowy figures that many witnesses have seen. Today, San Pietro remains abandoned. Moss grows on the walls, vines cover the windows, and inside there is only the sound of wind blowing through the corridors. But on moonlit nights, if you walk along the path leading up the hill, you can hear the distant bells echoing regularly. Some say that it is the prayer of the spirit of Mateo, the monk who still guards the place that used to be his house. But others believe that something else, a more ancient darkness, is responding to the bells from inside the tower. If one day you are lost in the Lombardy forests and hear bells ringing in the distance, do not try to find the source, because when you look up and see a dark shadow moving in the moonlight, maybe that spirit is looking back at you, waiting for you to take one step forward to ring the final bell with him. In the cold seas off the coast of Scotland lies a chain of small islands known as the Flannan Isles. Of these, Alen Moor is the most famous, not for its beauty, but for one of the most chilling mysteries ever to have occurred there. In the winter of 1900, 3 lighthouse keepers disappeared completely, leaving behind their lights still burning, their meals uneaten, and no trace of where they had gone. The story begins when a supply ship called the Hesperus arrived at Ellen Moor on December 26, 1900. It was scheduled to change shifts and bring food to the 3 lightkeepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. But as the ship approached, the sailors realized something was wrong. The flag was not flying, the lighthouse door was closed, and no one came out to greet them as usual. When the sailors reached the island, they knocked on the door, but there was no answer. When they entered, they found the room tidy, the kitchen still warm, the meal unfinished, and a chair overturned as if someone had stood up in a hurry. The captain went out to check and found that the 2 men's raincoats and boots were still hanging on the wall. Only one set was missing. They reached the top of the lighthouse. The lamp was still burning as if it had been regularly tended. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, no footprints leading to the sea. Only the cold wind and the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs. When the group returned to report, the incident quickly caused a stir throughout England. An investigation was opened. It was discovered that before he disappeared, Thomas Marshall had written in his diary that a great storm had hit the island. He wrote that the wind was so strong that it seemed to tear the island apart, and that his friend Donald MacArthur had shown an unusual expression of fear. The last entry was on December 15th, stating that the storm had calmed but God was still in heaven. After that, there was no further record. Strangely, there were no reports of storms in the area during that time. Theories quickly arose. Some suggested that a large wave had swept them away while they were out on patrol. But that did not explain why one person was still in the house, why the lamp was still burning, and why the meal was still uneaten. Some believed that they had been taken by some supernatural force. Local fishermen said they heard strange singing coming from the island the night before the disappearance, and that Eilean Mor was where the spirits of those who were drowned still roamed the mist. Another story said that there used to be an ancient chapel on the island, where monks had disappeared for unknown reasons hundreds of years before. Many believed that the land was cursed. One sailor once said that when he passed Eilean Mor at night, he saw a faint blue light hovering around the lighthouse, as if a spirit was guarding the place. When he turned to look, the light was gone, but he heard the wind sound like someone calling his name. A modern paranormal investigation team visited in 2007. They brought equipment to measure electromagnetic fields and record sounds. In the recording, there was a slight metallic sound, followed by a mumbled male voice. When played back, they heard 3 different voices, as if all 3 lighthouse keepers were still somewhere on the island. One member of the team said that when he was standing near the lighthouse door, he felt someone touch his hand, and the wind suddenly changed direction and blew strongly out to sea. Scientists explained that a large wave may have swept all 3 away while they were working, but no one could explain why only a raincoat was missing and the lighthouse was still carefully tended. Some spiritualists believe that their spirits are still there, guarding the lighthouse as their final vow. It is said that on windy nights, you can hear them calling to each other over the waves, or see a silhouette moving slowly on top of the tower. Today, Eilean Mor is uninhabited. The lighthouse is automated, and few people set foot on the island other than maintenance engineers. But those who have visited say they feel a strange energy. One worker who stayed overnight said he heard a knock on the door at 3 in the morning. When he opened it, there was only wind and fog. But a few seconds later, he heard footsteps on the stairs, then the wind blowing through, making the light flicker. He left the next morning, vowing never to return. Perhaps the mystery of the 3 light keepers will never be solved. But Eilean Mor still stands there, silent in the middle of the ocean. The light still burning every night as if someone is keeping it. And when the fog thickens, sailors still say they see 3 figures standing by the lighthouse railing, staring out to sea with lifeless eyes. Perhaps they never left that place, still continuing to do the job they promised the sea forever.